We're live. My name is Zane Stevens. I'm the Protea founder of Protea Financial, and this is episode 13 of Protea Live, season 2, and it'll be the last one for this season. And I was pretty excited for today because the timing of what I wanted to discuss just worked out really well. So, guess what I am going to talk about today? And the hint is, I just ended up doing this for just over an hour with another accountant, and that is communication. Me and another accountant jumped online, you know, video like this, and we just spoke. We talked to each other. We shared a conversation and communicated our thoughts and ideas on what we do, how we do it, and how we're different. We spent time communicating. It's really interesting that if you're in the accounting space, or you've probably even heard the stereotypical, this is who an accountant is, one of the things that they don't tell you about is how much interaction is required to be an accountant. You have to talk to clients, you have to talk to colleagues, you have to go out there and find business. There's just a ton of talking. There's even talking and communicating when you need to get information to do your job. Pretty much it is almost the polar opposite of what they say. It's like, oh, you're a little like much introverted. You don't really like talking to people. You should be an accountant. Hogwash. You know, there are a lot of introverts. I see myself as an introvert as well. But as an accountant, to be successful, you have to know how to communicate. And being able to communicate with others is so critically important. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, you know that I talk about this on a regular basis. I talk about the importance of communication, and I try to help people by providing some insight in what will help them better communicate with others. But I do want to talk about that today, but there's a little bit more that I would want to jump into it. And I feel like one of the things that people overlook on why communication is important is, yes, it creates a situation where you can actually understand each other. But an important part of it is making sure that we're on the same wavelength. Way too many times people are so busy wanting to respond that they forget to listen to what the actual question is. So people do not listen, they just give their opinion. Sounds like, modern world that we live in, especially one that is very much politically fused, is that we have to be a good communicator. You have to make sure you actually know what you're communicating about. You're actually paying attention to what people are saying to you. Communication is not about getting your message across, but about understanding what is required in that time frame and understanding what that person is asking and making sure you're responding appropriately. So think about that. Communication is not about you, it's about us. And if you consider that in key part of communication, the rest of these things get really a lot easier. So let's jump into it, right? If you want to be a better communicator, you are going to have to work on some key skills. Um, we'll go through a few of them. We'll talk about it. I'll give my insight and my thought on them, and then we can sort of wrap this up, and you'll be free from me from the rest of the summer. So one of the first places that I've sort of already touched on it is one of the places that you can be very good at improving your communication is to be an active listener. Being an active listener is actually listening to people. You're paying attention to what that person is saying. You're giving them your attention. You are making sure that you're intentional with your time, and the intention of that time is to listen to that person and hear what they are wanting. It's important in active listening that you forget about what you want the answer to be, but rather understand what they're saying and then create your response. A lot of communication will be improved if people just listened more before responding. Clear expression is a very important part of being able to communicate. A lot of the time we are reliant on email, um, and being able to sort of written, like, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking. You have to work and practice on expressing your thoughts and ideas that in a very clear, concise method. If you use simple language with well organized thoughts and even provide examples to people, you're more likely to be able to share what you're actually thinking. I always believe that communication can be done in an effective way if it's clear and concise. When it's clear and concise, there's less room for misinterpretation. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I saw. This is what I plan to do. Be clear, be concise. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. If you're in person, there's contemplations of, your non-verbal communication, body language, facial expressions, tones can be tough. I'm sometimes can be really difficult for me to hide my facial expressions, and it can show up there. I'm aware of it. I know what that does. I can sometimes then like, oh, that probably looked like I didn't care, or I was doing that. But there are certain body language that you have to be aware that can create a different feeling on what you're saying. So just be careful of that. Be aware of it, especially in a face-to-face situation. Be careful of your non-verbal communications. I think something that will really help you in terms of getting to the same level as person, listening to them, responding effectively is making sure that you're understanding and showing empathy towards the person that you're working with. Um, Always try and put yourself in their shoes and see things from their perspective. Again, when people are bringing something forward to you, they are trying to express what they are feeling, seeing, or needing help with. It's not about us. And if you take out a lot of like, this is how I feel about something, even if you disagree and you're empathetic to where they are, people will more likely trust you and feel comfortable on bringing that to you again in the future. When you're communicating with somebody, a lot of the time, what's important is to really understand, was my communication effective? So one of the best tips that you can do is making sure that people understand what you're saying, especially if you're talking on a topic that's pretty complex. So you explain a process, an accounting process to somebody, then ask them, hey, can you explain it back to me? Tell me what you heard. Tell me what you think I said. Let's make sure that what I said to you, or at least what I thought I said to you, is what you heard. Because one thing that you'll learn about communication is it's not necessarily what I said, but it's what other people hear. And the only way you can really understand what other people hear is to ask for clarification. So if you're in a professional environment, you're asking questions, it's very, very important to ask for clarification, get feedback on the feedback. One of the biggest secrets to being a good communicator is to be adaptable. Not all communication styles will work for every single audience. You will have to adjust them depending on who they are and what the audience is. Sometimes you'll need to be direct and assertive. Sometimes you might just need to be more diplomatic and empathetic. You need to understand who you're talking to and what works best for them. Sometimes it could just be a cultural difference. It could be that person's just super busy and they don't want long answers. Just give me the facts. You have to understand who that person is, adjust your communication to make sure that they are hearing what you are saying. Be mindful. Being mindful in communication can be really important. Be aware of your own emotions in a situation and make sure you're managing them effectively. There's no point of bashing out an angry email where you might say something that you didn't quite mean and you cannot take back. Be very aware of who you are. And when you are communicating, focus on being calm, composed, and always, 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 always be respectful. Be kind to other people. It'll make a big difference. Even in difficult situations, if you're mindful about the way you're responding and try to come through with a more balanced approach to the situation, you will have more of an impact in your communication. People will be more willing to listen to you if you are being calm, being kind. People will listen. The final thing to sort of improve feedback, being able to improve your communication is to practice it more, be aware of opportunities to improve, get feedback from people that you care, and work on your communication style all the time. None of us are perfect at communication, and we should be trying to improve and adapt as much as possible. Being able to adapt our styles, learn new styles, and adjust it for our audiences will make a big difference. Again, I've said this a few times now. It's not about what we say, but it's what people hear. And being able to adjust our processes around communication and learn new skills will make a big difference. So, think about engaging activities that could really make a difference and enhance your communication skills. Read books. There's a lot of opportunities out there. Grab them on Audible if you have to, and listen to them that way. That's how I do a lot of my reading. Reading at this point in time. Attend workshops or seminars. Go find some training. Listen to people who have developed careers around communication on how they communicate. Talk to other people about how they use communication and the styles and adjustments that make. Ask questions. Look for mentorship or coaching. It will help you further develop those skills and make you a better communicator. Continue to improve, continue to arrive, and get ready further. I think, in the learning process, don't forget about getting feedback. Especially if you're in a group dynamic, it's always important to hear what other people are saying to you. You can think you're the sweetest person, but it could be perceived in a totally different way. And, especially in the workforce that we are, where there's multiple generations, your one style that you think is great might work for this generation, but then you take it to this generation and they're like, I don't know what you're doing. Like, this is creepy, or it's too brash. Like, there's a good chance that, you need to get feedback and understand, and again, listen to what people are saying, to be able to adjust and improve your communication. Always find time to reflect on your communication, your experiences, and look for areas to improve. One of the most important things that, this is not even just from a communication standpoint, is just being very aware of who you are and who you're dealing with. Be self-aware, because if you're self-aware, it'll give you opportunity to identify areas to improve and adjust. Improving communication skills is going to be an ongoing process. There's not a situation where you're going to be perfect. There's going to be times where things need to change. Your audience is going to change. So you have to work with it. Communication comes from practice and being open to improving and adjusting. So today we spoke about communication and some of the places that you can focus in on key places, key areas to improve is be an active listener. Make sure you're truly listening to what people are saying. Don't assume you know what they're asking. Be very clear in what you're doing. Focus in on being clear, concise, direct when necessary. Make sure you give examples if you can. Being clear and concise will improve your communication. If you're communicating in person, make sure that you're aware of nonverbal communication. There is certain actions that will close other people off. There might be certain actions that sort of offend people. Be aware of what your body is doing, what your facial expressions, the tone of voice. Be very aware of the nonverbal clues. Be empathetic to others. Understanding where they're coming from can help you better package your response. Also, understand where they're coming from allows you to better respond to what their actual needs are. Be adaptable. Realize that one style of communication is not enough. Different people need different advice, different feedback, different guidance. So it's really important that you are adaptable in your communication styles. Be very mindful of your communication. Be careful of just jumping in when we're super angry or somebody's offended you. It's not going to be really helpful. It's more important for you to stay calm, stay composed, be respectful, be kind to people. Being mindful on how you're feeling at that point in time will make a very big difference in the way you communicate, and most likely create a situation where people will listen to you more often. And then always look to improve. Communication is a constantly evolving situation. It's going to change for your audience. It's going to change for where you are in your life. So be open to learning. Remember, communication is less about how you say things, but more about what people hear. So you want to develop processes so that people can hear and understand you. Continuously work to improve your communication skills. With practice persistence, you can become a better, more effective communicator, build stronger relationships, and be a better accountant. I've really enjoyed these Protea Lives over the last few months. It's been a great sounding board for me. It's almost therapeutic. I hope you've enjoyed what I've had to say. I'm going to take a couple of weeks off. I'm going to reassess what I want to talk about, and I'll come back with some more thought processes. If you have anything you would like me to talk about, feel free to drop a comment. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Let me know what you want to hear about. Thank you for listening. Bye.